My name is Nasuru Chan, Senior Assistant Secretary, Personal Assistant to the Minister, Ministry of Water and Environment.
I am Lydia Kansime, Communications Officer, Ministry of Water and Environment. Baliana Damani, Senior Communication Officer, Ministry of Water and Environment.
John Chiveru, Senior Monitoring and Evaluation Officer, Ministry of Water and Environment.
Kesiga Imam Guma, Economist, Policy Planning, Ministry of Water and Environment.
Paul Geron Samali, Director Planning, standing for the Director NFA.
Christine Angela Mugini, I'm the Partnership Officer, National Forest Authority.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Florence Grace Adong, Director for Water Resources Management, standing in for the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Water and Environment.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Director, Manifesto Implementation Unit, technical staff of my ministry, other invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. I will first of all make introductory remarks, after which I will ask Mr. Ochare, Assistant Commissioner, Police and Planning, to continue with the rest of the presentation. First and foremost, allow me to thank the organizers for giving us the opportunity to present our performance on the Nrm Manifesto 2021 to 2026. We have prepared a presentation outlining the commitments we made, the challenges we encountered, and the recommendations that we were able to make. Water and environment is central in contributing towards the country's drive in increasing household incomes, improved quality of life of the population, and achievement of sustainable industrialization for inclusive growth, employment, and wealth creation. Uganda's economy will continue to depend on the available stock of water, environmental, and natural resources to produce goods and deliver services. Honorable Chair, it is important for us to note that water and environment is a key sector of the economy because it provides a cushion to all other sectors by way of providing nearly all inputs in the production processes and human living. Human livelihood entirely depends on the water and the environment sector. Water and the environment sector has the potential to deliver both on growth and a socio-economic transformation as stipulated in the Nrm Manifesto, as well as in the country's national planning framework. The availability of adequate water resources is a critical driver in hydropower development, agriculture production and productivity, livestock, fisheries, health, industrial development, tourism development, and mitigation of climate change and climate change effects. A healthy, clean, and productive environment is essential in boosting wealth creation for social transformation and sustainable development, since it reflects the balance between the demand and the supply of natural resources on one hand, and the absorption and the supply of waste products on the other hand in the development process. Mr. Chair, the sector key strategic targets for the Nrm Manifesto commitments 2021 to 2026 are: 1. Protect and manage the quantity and the quality of water resources to ensure maximum benefits for production and guarantee water resources access and security for all sectors of the economy. Increase households' access to basic, safe, and affordable water supply in rural areas from 69% to 81%, and access in urban areas from 78% to 88% by 2026, paying particular attention to ensuring availability of at least one source per village for the unserved districts, as well as promote improved sanitation. 3, we promise to increase cumulative water for production storage capacity from 41.12 million cubic meters to 60.3 million cubic meters by 2026 to support irrigation development and utilization for sustainable agriculture and increase incomes and employment activities. Enhance the contribution of forestry to GDP to reach 80% with the increased national forest cover from 12.4% to 15%, and the increased wetlands ecosystem coverage to reach 11.5% of the total land area by the end of 2026, and promote sustainable use of resources for private sector development. Chair, the above targets and manifesto pledges have to some extent been achieved, notwithstanding the current economic challenges, where resources are scarce, coupled with climate change and its effects. This has affected manifesto implementation progress. The financial performance of the Ministry of Water and Environment, together with its agencies and the sector grants dispersed to local governments in the last 2 financial years, stands as follows. In financial year 2021-2022, the approved budget was Uganda shillings 1.4 trillion, but only 1.057 trillion was released, representing 75% of the approved budget. In the financial year 2022-2023, the approved budget was Uganda shillings 1.5 trillion. The total release up to end of March 2023 was Uganda shillings 991.28 billion, representing 66%. Given Nrm Manifesto commitments and the requirements in the NDP3, our requirements annually is Uganda shillings 8.239 billion, 8,239 billion, which shows a huge gap in financing delivery of water and environment services. The Ministry acknowledges the financial resource constraints, especially in this post-COVID pandemic era. The water and environment, because of its centrality in supporting all other programs as identified in the NDP3, has the potential to increase the rate of growth of GDP by 9% if adequately funded. Given the level of current financing, coupled with the high level of degradation on environment and natural resources, the Ministry may not be able to achieve 100% manifesto commitment target by 2026. unless financial allocation and the releases to the ministry is increased in the next 3 financial years. Once again, I wish to thank Office of the President, the Manifesto Implementation Unit, for organizing this review and to provide this platform to enable us account to the country on the Manifesto Pledge 2021-2023, as well as presidential directives, guidelines issued from time to time for God and my country. May I now take this opportunity to invite the Assistant Commissioner, Police and Planning, to present the rest of the presentation from Minister of Water. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, the Honorable Minister, Director, Water Resources Management, and Director, Manifesto Implementation Unit. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going now to present the detailed report. I think that starts from page 5, where we start with 2.0. Summary of the sector achievement on the key milestones in the manifesto implementation. 2.1, we present rural water supply and sanitation. Honorable Chair, in the Ministry of Water and Environment, or in the water and environment sector, we provide water in rural areas under rural water supply and sanitation, in small towns and large towns, and also we provide services for water resources management, and also natural resources and environment, and also water for production. So our report is actually outlined based on those mandates. So the first one is rural water supply and sanitation. Here, since last year, May, we have achieved a number of, we have drilled a number of boreholes and serving about 33,180,000 people. This represents 68% in the rural areas and 71.6% in the urban areas. And of the current population, we have access to safe water services, while 30%, representing 14,220 of the population, are without access to safe water services. Chair, in the country we have 70,512 villages. And out of this, so far we have supplied water to 49,102 villages, and this represents about 70% of the villages, of all the villages in this country. Despite all these water initiatives, we still have about 21,410 villages without safe water sources. That is about 30%. And we are trying to work on this so that we can maybe reach 100%. Maybe by 2026, maybe we shall be around 81%, depending on the availability of resources, as outlined by the Honorable Minister. What have we done under rural water supply and sanitation in terms of completed water supply system, we have constructed in Kiboko district, we have constructed 2 pipe water supply systems, serving a population of 2,276, and also in Kasasira Rural Growth Center, serving about 5,676. These 2 water supply systems were constructed in the Rural Growth Center called Kamake Rural Growth Center, serving 1,546, and also in Kapala Rural Growth Center, serving 2,735 people. We have also done Nrm Gravity Flow Scheme. This serves a total of over 40,000 people. We also did Bukedia Gravity Flow Scheme. This is serving over 60,000 persons. We also did Nrm Gravity Flow Scheme. Nrm is in Kitgum. This is serving, we have had 446 connections. Out of these, 431 number of yard taps and 15 public stand posts, serving a total of 13,344 persons. We also did Sukuma Shoro to 100% completion, serving 7,200 persons. Next are the ongoing construction works. We have Yakobuche and Kichinche in Ibanda. The construction is now at 90%. Kaboyanda water supply system in Isingiro is at 90% completion level. There has also not been more progress in terms of, we had also planned for Bukedia 2 in Sironko, which was going to actually cover Sironko, Kwen, Kapchorwa, Bulambuli, Rebisengo, Kanara, phase 2 in Toroko, Orom phase 2 in Kitgum, Magago, Pade. We haven't embarked on this. This is because we don't have resources, but we are securing funding from African Development Bank under phase 2. Construction of Bitsia Gravity Flow Scheme in Buejo district. The contract was awarded. Honorable Chair. Construction of Nyamugasani Water Supply System in Kasese district. The contract was also awarded, and the contractor is mobilizing, is on site. Construction of Bambara, Bugangari in Rukungiri, Ngoma, Nakaseke, Lamo was affected by cancellation of, we were actually securing funding from Exim Bank. This funding was cancelled, but we are trying to secure other sources of funding so that we can finance these projects. Honorable Chair, under the manifesto, there was also a commitment of drilling of environmentally friendly boreholes countrywide, 422 new points, water sources, including 323 hand pumps, wells, and 99 production wells have been drilled. So that is serving 126,000 people. The locations are given, Honorable Chair. Under the District Water and Sanitation Conditional Grant, so far the districts have constructed 1,886 boreholes, hand pumps, the numbers are indicated. This is serving over 600 persons. In terms of installation of 2,600 environmentally friendly and sustainably solar-powered boreholes, which was also part of the manifesto pledge, under the centrally managed projects, for the solar stroke wind-powered water supply systems have been constructed to the level of 80%, and this is serving over 173,000 persons. In addition to that, we support from the development partners 100 mini solar-powered pumping water supply systems have been constructed. Then rehabilitation of all rural pipe water supply schemes, which was also part of the manifesto pledge. A total of 3,877 existing pumps, water pumps, have been rehabilitated, and this is serving over 1 million persons. With support from our development partners, the Ministry of Water and Environment, under the Emergency Water, Sanitation and Hygiene, rehabilitated 9 gravity flow schemes serving 27,000 persons. We also did 3 solar-powered water supply systems in the districts of Singiro, Jumani, and Kiriandongo, serving over 100,000 persons. In addition to that, 48 boreholes were rehabilitated in Ubongi, in Bulisa, in Kasese, in Kabong, with those details. In addition to that, Chair, in terms of establishment of supply chain for spare parts outlets for the borehole infrastructure, because that was also part of the manifesto commitment. In order to address the supply chain, some spare parts, there have been innovative approaches with support from JICA to support the introduction of the automated pay per fetch mechanism as the borehole referred to as source. Chair, the other commitment was about promotion of rainwater harvesting by reducing the cost of acquiring necessary equipment such as water vessels. Chair, there has been an increase in the uptake of rainwater harvesting across the country from 20,187 in the financial year 2020-21 to over 20,367 in last financial year. In terms of support, continuous support for community-led total sanitation, for improved sanitation. Under the Transitional Development Grant, the sanitation grant, a total of 4,000 villages were worked in, and of these, 4,040 villages were covered. 19.9% became, of the villages, that is about 804, became what we call open defecation free. So it means we totally eliminated defecation outside the latrines and all those sanitation facilities. These are some of the challenges under rural water supply and sanitation. One, poor operation and maintenance of facilities. Of course, Chair, as you are aware, the communities are supposed to contribute some little in-kind resources to ensure that the boreholes are maintained. That is one of the challenges. Some of this is not happening. Stagnation of the rural water source functionality. Of course, this is linked to operation and maintenance. If the community are not maintaining their water sources, it means their functionality will also be low. Freezing of components of budget like non-wage recurrent. Of course, of late now, we find that government is now allocating resources mainly to development areas. Yet, operation and maintenance of some of these facilities are taken as recurrent budget. So this affects also operation and maintenance of the facilities. Delayed importation due to COVID, I think 3% annual population increase. Of course, our Chair, our coverage is based on the number of people. So if the facilities we are providing is not actually increasing by 3%, maybe by less than 1%, yet the population rate is by 3%. It means we are actually not doing much to reach the 100%, which is anticipated. Demand for increased water supply has increased. District local government currently excluded implementation of water development under water affected to safe and clean water due to gaps in data collection. So we also have a challenge of data management because of lack of resources. What do you recommend? There's need for more investment in water supply and sanitation in order to meet the service gap. There's need to ensure land acquisition before project implementation. We need to strengthen water and sanitation coordination mechanism. We also need to involvement of communities so that they should be sensitized to know that the facilities put within the community, it is their responsibility to maintain. Continuous engagement with Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to give us more resources. We also need to use multi-approach to supply water and sanitation. There should be clear guidelines put in place for operation and maintenance. Now I come to urban water supply and sewerage services, Chair. Under urban water supply and sewerage services, we have we serve two areas. The Ministry of Water and Environment serves small towns, while National Water and Sewage Corporations provide water in large towns, in big towns. Honorable Chair, the manifesto commitment was to invest in the construction of pipe water supply system in small towns and growth centers, and also focusing on provision of safe and reliable water supplies and improved sanitation facilities in districts and sub-county headquarters. So far, this is the following town. This is the towns where we have already completed construction of water supply system. We have done in Chenjojo, in those towns, Chenjojo, Katoke, in Nakasongola, in Abim, in Dokolo, in Rakai, in Morulem, Padibe, in Nakapiripirit, Kasese, with the specific locations. In addition to this, Honorable Chair, there are also ongoing construction of water supply system across the country. And they are listed down there. As you can see, we are doing Busia, town water supply system is at 66%, Kayunga at 96%. The list is long, Honorable Chair, up to down there, up to Kamule, the next page. Then we also do water and sanitation sites under procurement. The construction haven't started, but they are under procurement. They are listed down there. In Butaleja, Busolwe, Budaka, Kadama, Kibuku, Tirinyi, all these are under procurement, and we are still waiting for an objection from the World Bank, because some of these sites are financed from Integrated Water Management and Development Project under the World Bank funding. In addition to that, Chair, in order to address the issue of supply of water and sanitation in small towns, we have also completed design, because you first need to do design before you embark on construction. We list down a number of sites. There are quite many in Kakumiro, in Luengo, in Amoria, up to Karenga, down there. Ongoing designs, Butaleja, up to down, from Butaleja up to down in Barara. Honorable Chair, there was also a commitment under urban water supply and sanitation sewerage services. There was a commitment to improve public sanitation facilities in public places. In the progress that we have completed construction of 29 public and institutional sanitation facilities in Kapchorwa, in Kayunga, Busana, Nakasongola, Chenjojo. We have also done construction of 11 institutional and public sanitation facilities in Bundibuju, Kamole, Bukwe, We have completed construction of ZIP, fecal sludge management facilities. We have constructed 3 fecal sludge management facilities. These ones are ongoing in those locations. We have also completed designs of 12 fecal sludge management facilities. What are some of the implementation challenges? Some of them, Honorable Chair, they will keep on repeating because it's the same sector. We are talking about land acquisition, which is a challenge, is lengthy acquisition process, increased demand due to high population, which I had already talked about, COVID, increased cost of construction. Honorable Chair, you'll note that during COVID and also after COVID, there was price escalation. The prices of inputs of raw materials actually increased, some of them doubled. So this has also affected ongoing construction. What are some of the recommendations? We need to solicit both local and donor financing as a means of securing additional funding to provide water and sanitation services. We also need to engage with communities early so that it is easy to actually acquire land. We also improvement on counterpart financing. This is also one of the challenges because, Chair, as you may be aware, each of those projects from the donors, government of Uganda is supposed to really release 30%, to contribute 30% of the entire project budget, but sometimes they are not forthcoming. We have now gone to National Water. I don't know, Chair, whether National Water can present or can do this. Yes, go ahead. Okay. Thank you so much, Chair. Now, under National Water and Sewage Corporation, they provide these services, water and sewerage services in large towns, in big towns, in municipalities, in cities. Within the context of the manifesto, the corporation's commitment broadly entails the following. They want to improve urban water supply and sewerage coverage. All cities, towns, trading centers, wards within those cities, at least each cell should have a safe water source. Extension of water and sewerage services in planned industrial parks. Improvement of capital development projects to enhance water and sewerage services. Given that, Honorable Chair, I present now the progress. In terms of provision of water to all cities, towns, trading centers, the corporation geographical coverage has grown by 3% from 258 towns. That is towns. They are now operating in 268 towns. So they have increased an additional 10 towns. These towns are located in 94 districts across the country. 11 cities, 257 towns, 16,601 villages. Now currently the village service coverage stands at 65%, which is serving about 10,799 villages. The table down there, can you move? The table down there gives the details of the summary, which I've just presented above. In terms of, we go to B, Roman B, improving urban water supply and sewerage coverage. The corporation's aspiration is to increase its coverage, service coverage from 74 to 86%. So they think that the projection is that by 2026, the coverage should be now 86 in those towns, in those cities managed by National Water and Sewage Corporation. From now, the sewerage coverage is still low, from 21% to at least 30% by 2026. The details, Honorable Chair, is given under Table 2. In terms of, now we go to C, In terms of implementation of capital development projects to enhance water and sewerage service coverage, projects completed. Katosi water treatment plant was completed. Now this has increased the daily water production by 1,160 million liters from 240 million liters in 2020 to now 400 million liters in the Kampala metropolitan area. They have also upgraded Kapeka water supply system, which has enhanced the daily production from 2.5 million liters to 5 million liters. In terms of rehabilitation and expansion of Sembabule water supply system, the plant is now able to produce 3 million liters, as opposed to 300,000 liters initially. This has connected, they have now connected 450 new customers. Fort Total water production improvement project was completed with a capacity of 5 million liters per day. Previously, they were at 2.5 million liters. Development of Parombo water supply system to serve over 20,000 people in the areas following the presidential directives in 2018. The daily water supply improvement has now improved by over 200,000 liters. Water for Virunga's project, Kisoro, it is in Kisoro. This was aimed at improving water supply in 17 villages around that area, around the ranges, to deter the locals from entering the national park. Upgrading of Kisoro. Kisoro Nkaka water supply system from 31.1 million liters daily to 5.8 million liters. Jinja Iganga water supply system, that improved daily water production by 6 million liters in those locations within that locality. Also upgrading of the Oima water supply, which has improved water supply in Oima city by additional 3.5 million liters. Then Liatonde water supply project intended to enhance daily water production by 3 million liters. These are the plans. Nakivubu wastewater treatment plant with capacity of 45 million liters. The system was completed and is now undergoing performance monitoring. Then Kirudu wastewater treatment plant with a capacity of 300,000 liters, targeting the hospital and the surrounding community. The ongoing capital development projects, Kampala Water, Lake Victoria, Water and Sanitation Project, Phase 2, extension of the water supply and sanitation services in informal settlements. That is one of the objectives of this project. Restructuring of the network in project areas of Kampala metropolitan area. Then under integrated program for improving living conditions of people in Gulo. This will be drawn, the water will be drawn from Karomba, from River Nile at Karoma to serve Gulu city and the surrounding area. The water and sanitation infrastructure project for Singiro, Mbarara and Masaka area, this is still ongoing, and the project will improve drawing water from River Kagera. Then Wakiso wastewater and sanitation project entails construction of waste treatment plant, then rehabilitation and expansion of Mbale water supply schemes under integrated water management and development project is financed by the World Bank. The technical evaluation has been completed, evaluation report has been completed. Then upgrading of Bushenyi water supply system, the details are provided there. Then under D, water and sewerage services for planned industrial parks, because one of the manifesto pledge was provision of water in industrial parks. So in terms of this water supply system development and expansion targeting industrial parks, So far, they are saying that they have, National Water has established water supply system for 9 of the well-developed industrial parks. What are some of the key initiatives undertaken? Expansion of water pipe network by over 187.45 kilometers. Then improvement of capital projects and water supply stabilization plans. Then other projects underway include integrated water management and development project, I think, which we talked about. The sewerage services for industrial park, I think I've also highlighted that. Then we come to, Honorable Chair, now we come to water for production, which is also one of the services, one of the mandates by the Ministry of Water and Environment. So water for production is a department. It contributes to about 3 main outcomes, indicators. One of them is cumulative water for production storage in 1 million cubic meters. Then the second one is area under formal irrigation, and then percentage of water for production facilities that are functional. Because once we put these facilities in place, we must ensure that they are running, they are serving the people, they are providing water for irrigation services in our gardens, watering animals, and so forth and so forth. In terms of progress, Honorable Chair, the irrigation area has increased from 19,138 hectares to 22,797 hectares against the irrigation potential. We have the potential is over 3 million hectares countrywide. While the overall current cumulative water storage for water for production has increased from 42 million cubic meters to 52.48 million cubic meters. Remember, our target is about 60 million cubic meters. So I think we are moving closer, much as it still requires a lot of resources and effort. Then in terms of functionality for water for production facilities, we stand at 88%. In terms of performance of the 3 indicators, under the manifesto commitment, under A, can we move away there? Under A, we pledge to establish new bulk water systems supply for multipurpose use and dams. So in terms of progress, we are doing Sheshama Dam in Barara, and this is at 75% physical progress. We are doing Geregere Dam in Agago. We are still at detailed engineering design. It was completed, and procurement of works is ongoing. Chai Dam in Gomba, preparation of engineering designs for this dam, also due to resistance from the community. Of course, now, Honorable Chair, we talked about the issue of land. Acquiring land is a big challenge. Then Lemusi Dam in Nakapiripirit and Amudat, preparation of designs is ongoing. Nakonyi Dam in Moroto, construction, this is being done by Ministry of Agriculture, is at 30%. Nangolo Apollon Dam in Kotido district, preparation of designs is ongoing. Works for construction are intended to commence next financial year. Then Ojama Dam in Serere, detailed engineering designs has been completed, Honorable Chair. Now we come to construction of 9 communal valley tanks in Kotido, Moroto, Amodat, Nakapiripirit districts, in line with the manifesto commitment pledge. So far, we have completed construction of 7 communal valley tanks. The locations and the details are provided down there. Then another commitment was about construction of 500 private valley tanks and 120 communal valley tanks for livestock watering. Honorable Chair, we have so far completed construction of 78 private valley tanks on individual farms using the water for production, using our equipment. And the locations of the districts is Singiro, Ntungamo, in the cattle corridor, in the dry cattle corridor, if you look at the names, those districts. Then construction of more valley tanks on individual farms awaits demand from farmers, because this one is demand-driven approach. When you demand, then we can provide the service. We have also completed construction of 26 communal valley tanks for livestock watering. The locations are provided, Honorable Chair. Construction of ongoing for 9 communal valley tanks. Tungamo, Toroko, Iboko, Gomba. Honorable Chair, in addition, we are going we are also, according to the pledge, to establish new small, medium, and large-scale irrigation schemes to exploit the existing potential for sustainable agricultural production and productivity. So the names of the districts are listed down there. Isingiro, Kabuyanda is in Isingiro, Matanda in Kanongo, Amagoro, Angorolo in Tororo, and then come down up to Noya, Paliach in Noya district. Chair, we are also doing additional interventions. Some of these are outside the manifesto pledges. We have completed 6 medium-scale irrigation schemes. Works are in advanced stages for completion of construction of Wadelai. Wadelai is in Pakwach, in northern region. Additional works also commenced for construction of 2 irrigation schemes in Ududa and Luero districts. Solar-powered irrigation demonstration sites, one of the presidential pledges. The list is long, Honorable Chair. These are the sites where we have done demonstration sites, 37 of them in those locations. We have also constructed another 22 demonstration sites. These ones are ongoing. The 22 are ongoing. Other undertakings not captured in the manifesto: siting and drilled 8 production wells in Golo, in Luero, works for construction of Nakayoza livestock water facility in Nakasongola, construction of livestock watering troughs. We are also undertaking complementary feasibility studies for those locations. The details are there. Now we go to challenges. As I already highlighted, some of the challenges are very same. The issue of financing. First of all, there are 2 issues here. First of all, when your budget and resources are located, then again the other issues releases. Because once you budget and then it is not released, it's also another matter. So funds release are not enough to implement all the planned activities. There are quite many. As you can see, many of those designs, we haven't secured funding. So we need to secure funding. We need to lobby with our development partners and also mobilize resources locally within the country. Underfunding, I think that is, NDP3 targets have been scaled down because of failure to increase the budget ceiling. So this is still emphasizing that point. Technical challenges, the ministry construction equipment set deployed in different regions are worn out. So the issue of operation and maintenance, we need to maintain, we need resources so that we can keep them running, to service them, to replace the parts. Limitation of water sources in the cattle corridor, because without water now you can't talk about irrigation. Socioeconomic challenges, animal herds have gone high compared to the stock density. The population, in other words, they are high compared to the number of water production facilities. the number is increasing. Like the human beings, the number is increasing. The animals are also increasing. The number of animals are also increasing. Refusal to offer land, we have talked about land here. Then, of course, now land tenure system is also subsistence farmers with small farm do not have room to create for water reservoir because you need space to create water for production. Other challenges are the issue of climate, prolonged drought, rapid increased encroachment. I think the Honorable Minister emphasized this. What do we recommend? We need more resources. In terms of technical recommendation, procure new equipment sets for the region. So we think that if we could secure resources so that each region has at least water for production equipment, it would make life easy for us. Government should review procedures, that is under socio-economic recommendations, economic review procedures and methods used in land valuation, because this is also where the problem is. Sometimes the land value is exaggerated. Environmental integrated water catchment should be strengthened, enforce the laws. We have the laws. Now 2.4, we now come to water resources management. The subheading 2.4.1 may be redundant there. So let us disregard it, that water research and innovation, because what we are discussing down there is more than research and innovation. The ministry, through the directorate, is implementing the following interventions in line with the manifesto commitments. Safety, ensuring safety of the hydroelectric power dams from all possible dangers, like flooding, moving islands, and also weeds. The ministry has so far been monitoring 5 major hydro power infrastructure, Nalubale, Kira, Isimba. They have been doing a lot of inspection to ensure that safe operations and functionality of the spillways. Then again, 20 mini hydro plants, they are listed there, have been inspected to ensure that the minimum environmental flows have been adhered to in view of competing water uses and ecosystem conservation. 10 hydraulic structures, including bridges, have had their designs reviewed to check their capacity to discharge the peak floods in view of the flood analysis arising from climate change, as well as high sediment loads due to rampant catchment degradation. We have been talking about this. When you degrade the environment, the water finds its own level and displaces some other infrastructure. I think that one. Roman A now, maintenance of water bodies, including dredging, desilting, cleaning, and management of water weeds. Currently, we are dredging River Nyamwamba, and this construction works is at 95.4%. The rest are the details. Development of water source protection, developing water source protection plans, and implement investment and management measures upstream of water sources to ensure that their sustainability and protection of people's livelihoods and property. So 8, in terms of addressing that manifesto commitment, 8 water source protection plans, mainly for hydropower, were reviewed and approved. 5 catchment management plans for those locations were done. 7 micro catchment management plans have been finalized in Ora, in Anyao. Those are wetlands, the names of wetlands. Supervision of the implementation of prepared plans is ongoing in a bid to ensure minimize the threat that could affect the reliability of the various dam infrastructure. Integrated flood and drought protection and weather forecasting centers, development of pilot forecasting and early warning system for ASWA, and Manafa started, and it is currently at 5%. Then under D, digitize real-time data and information technology for timely water information services to enhance infrastructure reliance for water resilience, for water resources development. A contractor has been procured for these 15 surface water stations on the 3 major lakes of Victoria, Choga, and Albert have been designed and upgraded, along with those of River Nile, Kagera, Katonga, Semiliki. In addition to that, power grid has been extended to 16 stations and is currently awaiting installation. Number E, we are now on E. One of the pledges was to develop water demand management and water use efficiency tools. We are happy to report that one water security action and investment plan for Kampala has been developed. Number F, strengthen coordination and cooperation on national and transboundary water management projects. Transboundary basin organization for cooperative management for shared water resources have been organized, and we think that such joint activities include Angololo, Yemor, and Kagera. Number G, demarcate and stabilize boundaries and buffer zones of water bodies, including popularizing the new boundaries to strengthen communities. 76.7 kilometers of degraded river and lake banks were demarcated and planted with pillars. The locations are given, and then the distance. 250.2 kilometers of river, those rivers have been demarcated. Number H, manage the surrounding landscape and buffer zones to reduce erosion and flow of sediments into water bodies. 800 hectares of soil and water conservation measures are implemented in Nyamwamba, Maziba, Awoja, Aswa catchments. Over 1.4 million tree seedlings have been distributed in the areas indicated. Number I, prioritize catchment protection activities upstream of the water retention structures. 14 tree nurseries have been established. This has produced over 1.5 million tree seedlings. 438 water harvesting and flood control structures have been constructed in those catchment areas indicated. Then develop legal and institutional framework. The following are the activities: promote tools that prevent and minimize pollution. 5 water quality deposition equipments were procured, delivered, and installed. Construction of national water quality laboratories to 10% at Entebbe there. Procurement of water vessels at 95%. 95% setup is complete. Of course, now when some people may think now this is a supply, but this thing is supposed to be built. So the construction, the building is actually at 95%. Then it will be supplied once it's completed. Then 14,624 samples for drinking water have been collected, analyzed. The percentages are given in terms of the quality. 74% is what they call, Commissioner calls E. coli. Those are technical terms. 1,000 samples collected from wastewater discharge. Accreditation of the National Water Quality Reference Laboratory has been undertaken. 3 industries have been supported to implement cleaner production techniques. 1,700 permits have been issued. What are the challenges, Honorable Chair? There is continued degradation, which we have been talking about, which I have already talked about. it affects many ecosystems. What do we recommend? Government provides, of course, the issue of funding is still there. Government to support Water Resources Institute to undertake research. We have Water Resources Institute at Entebbe in our former offices. Honorable Chair, now we go to Environment and Natural Resources, 2.5. The commitment, the manifesto commitment, focused on protection, restoration, demarcation of critical ecosystems, such as wetlands, forest reserves throughout the country. Our target is to increase the national forest cover from 12.4% to 15%, and also to increase the wetland cover from 8.9 to 11.5% by 2026. What have we done in the last 2 years? We are supposed to, under environment and natural resources, there are quite a number of commitments and pledges. One, we are supposed to intensify tree planting on individual and commercial farms, fragile ecosystems such as river banks, lake shores, government and non-governmental institutions, wildlife reserves, green parks in urban areas, forest reserves, and so forth. It's a mouthful. So what has the ministry done? We have a number of initiatives that contributed to increased area of planted forests in Uganda. There's what we call Roots, Running Out of Trees campaign. Under this, a number of partners were mobilized, under this, now partners were mobilized under the Roots campaign, including churches, including corporate bodies, traditional and cultural leaders, and this has actually made some significant changes, much as we have also been affected by resources, because we thought under this initiative, we should be able to plant 40 million trees every year, of course targeting those national celebrations days. But this has actually been also affected by release of resources. We also have under investment in forests and protected areas for climate smart development. Under this project, we are also going to support planting of trees in those locations mentioned above. A total of over 26 million assorted tree seedlings were planted. 66 districts reported planting trees under different initiatives. The next, increased investment in value addition to environment and natural resource products and services. A number of wood processing industries were set up, including, of course, these are private sector led. Vena and ply wood processing industries. Under this project, IFPA-CD, we have initiated plans to set up a state-of-the-art wood processing plant at Nyabea Forest College for purposes of capacity building, as well as supporting different wood processing hubs in different parts of the country. Demarcation of wetlands, river banks, which we talked about, a total of 1,452 kilometers of wetlands were demarcated with pillars and live markers. The details are given there, Honorable Chair. We move to mapping, coding, and gazetting of wetlands in the country. All wetlands were mapped and coded. Data was submitted to Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs. The legal notice for gazettement of these wetlands was signed by the minister, and the gazettement process has since been initiated. Restoration of encroached degraded section of wetlands, rivers, banks, lake shores, which is estimated at 4,949.55 square kilometers out of the current 9,885 square kilometers. That was our target. 26,950 50 hectares of the wetlands were restored, and the details are provided, Honorable Chair. 7 water retention facilities were constructed to further enhance wetland restoration through increasing water holding capacity of the wetlands. The capacities, the details are provided. We move to F, develop and implement wetland management plans with community livelihood options. Our target covering over 15,000 square kilometers. The area under wetland management plans increased to over 6,000 square kilometers. 7, gender, the details, those are the details. The details are there, details. So what are the challenges? We talked about finances as a challenge, increased encroachment, which the Honorable Minister emphasized. Impunity, maybe we need to underline this, Honorable Chair. Impunity and court injunction on gazetted forest reserve land, wetland systems, river banks, and lake shores, and water catchment. I think this is the first. The other ones have been repeating them, but I think we are not yet highlighted on this. Ineffectiveness of the central and district local administration in dealing with illegal forest produce, namely charcoal and firewood. Inadequacy of forest benefits to forest adjacent local communities. Issuance of illegal land titles in central forest reserves. The responsible bodies have been mentioned there. What do we recommend? We need to lobby to increase funding. We need to establish an armed environment protection force, I think, which is in the National Environment Act 2019. The ministry, in collaboration with NEMA, are in the process of lobbying for resources to recruit the environment protection, restoration, provide incentives to private natural forest owners to keep the land under forest and private commercial plantation. Because, you see, the private person is interested in making money. So if his timbers or his trees matures, he wants to make money. So how do we ensure that we motivate them so that the trees can stay there for longer, for the benefit of the entire country? The details are long. Now we go to National Forestry Authority, Honorable Chair. Under National Forestry Authority, if you note, many of these interventions under the agencies, under National Forestry Authority, under NEMA, under ONMA, they actually feed into one another under environment and natural resources as a broader area. So under National Forestry Authority, under seedlings produced, they raise over 51 million seedlings. That is about 64% of their targets plant. So out of that, at least they planted they raised about 51 million seedlings within the 2 years. Their target is 8 million seedlings. Under new plantation, establishing of new plantation, NFA established over 1 million, that is about 54% out of the planned 2 million in 8 plantations. The locations are given. Forest restoration, they restored about 59% of the planned target. Then boundary opening, boundaries open and marked with markers over 1,102 kilometers, 56% out of the planned 2,000 kilometers Central Forest Reserve boundaries was done. Challenges, high rate of deforestation and private lands and Central Forest encroachment. Forest encroachment, issuance of illegal land title in Central Forest Reserve by that body, which is highlighted there. Inadequate forest management infrastructure and equipment, unreliable weather patterns, and wildfires. This affects, once if you plant and there is no rain, it's obvious that the tree will not grow. Improve law enforcement, open and mark central forest reserve boundaries, promote partnership. NFA will proactively continue to develop partnership with various stakeholders. Manage wildfire, invest in new fleet. Of course, this is also one of the challenges, and build and renovate buildings. If you don't have the vehicles, the transport to move, then you cannot monitor the forest reserve. You cannot enforce those who are illegally encroaching on the forest. Strengthen forest laws, and strengthen enforcement of forest laws. Then now we move to 2.7, Uganda National Meteorological Authority. The manifesto commitment focus on improvement of climate data and information to accurately inform efforts that address vulnerability, to improve prediction and readiness to dealing with the adverse effects of climate variability and change. In particular, we are supposed to revamp and equip existing weather stations, as well as establish new ones in the newly created districts and invest in developing climate ICT, including but not limited to high-performance computing, data analytical tools and networks. Honorable Chair, UNMA has registered progress in the following areas. They have so far produced 3 seasonal rainfall outlooks. They are mentioned there. SON, MAM, JJA. They have developed weather information dissemination system in partnership with the College of Computing in Makerere University to support dissemination of early warning information. They have also provided early warning information on weather and climate at different time scales. They do 6 hourly, they do daily, they do 10 days, they do monthly weather updates. They also do daily forecast disseminated to 3 media houses, UBC TV, Star TV, Ukedi TV. They have also conducted radio talk shows in those locations, Honorable Chair. Operated and maintained 58, there are 58 automatic weather stations, 38 manual, and 80 rainfall stations to transmit data from the field station to the headquarters. Idi Wonma will tell us more. If you have many of this equipment spread across the country, it is easy to get the most accurate data. Install 1 automatic weather station, Soroti University, 1 in Lake Mburo, 1 in Kabale Airport, and Hoima. Install 9 weather buoys, with 6 installed on Lake Victoria, 2 on Lake Albert, and 1 on Lake Choga. So this is go to the map. The map gives us the distribution. Can you move up? The map now, Honorable Chair, gives us the distribution and the locations of this equipment we are talking about up there. Then now when you move down, it gives now the location by region. Central, what do we have in Central? There are 28. These are automatic weather stations. In Central, there are 28. Automatic weather stations, there are 28 in Central. In Eastern, there are 49. In Northern, there are 32. In Western, there are 38, giving us a total of 147. Challenges: operation and maintenance of this equipment, such as the weather radar and wind shear weather stations, increasing demand for meteorological information triggered by the increased weather extremes such as flood and dry spell. Inadequate dissemination of early warning information, recruitment challenges due to rationalization. What do we recommend? Increased access and uptake of meteorological information in local government by establishing district focal points. Of course, this also requires, okay, maybe it doesn't require recruitment, where you can appoint a focal point. Improving partnership with other stakeholders in supporting meteorological services. Ratify the East African Protocol on cooperation in meteorological services. Implement salary scales for scientists in meteorological services. I thought they were also scientists. Increase support for implementation of quality monitoring system. Climate change. The manifesto recognizes climate change as one of the main. In all these discussions, we have been talking about climate change, and it affects us across board. So we are saying that the manifesto recognizes climate change as one of the main unfinished business. Despite this commitment to economic transformation, climate change and natural disasters like droughts, floods, landslides, mention it, earthquakes, among others, pose risk to our economic growth and social welfare. In whatever we do, even the infrastructure we're putting in place, if we don't manage climate change, they will go to ruins. The commitment to deal with adverse effects of climate variability and change. Effects include development of policy. We have to develop policies to address some of these challenges, climate change policies, legal and institutional framework, and other related policies, climate change action planning, addressing vulnerability, improving climate change information, and dealing with effects of climate change. In terms of policy, legal, and institutional framework, the government has strengthened the policy, legal, and institutional framework to deal with climate change. We now have the National Climate Change Act of 2021, which provides for institutional framework for coordination and implementation of climate change response measures. And that's why now we have to mainstream climate change issues in our planning documents, in our budget, to address some of those adverse effects. Climate change action planning, government has developed a new national climate change action plan, also referred to as the nationally determined contribution. This NDC prescribes the efforts to address the causes of climate change and its impacts on society, the economy, infrastructure. The effects complement the aspiration of the manifesto, which includes creating jobs and wealth, delivering education, health, protecting life and prosperity, agricultural productivity, mentioned. Addressing vulnerability through the ministry has undertaken a deliberate effort to address vulnerability through climate change budget tagging. This is what I'm talking about, mainstreaming climate change in our budgeting, in our planning, this in a bid to address the effects, to mitigate the effects of climate change in our country. Improving climate change information, government has over time presented and improved information on national inventory on emission, general description and steps and efforts to address the effects of climate change. Dealing with effects of climate change through the ministry, the climate change investment plan and adaptation and mitigation for supporting sectors to mobilize financial and technical resources for their implementation. That's why we hear about the Green Climate Fund, the Adaptation Fund. Some of these funding are meant to address some of these challenges of climate change. We now go to 2.9 Honorable Chair, and I think that's the last section, that is National Environment Management Authority. In the manifesto commitment, we are supposed to operationalize the Environment Protection Unit as stipulated in the National Environment Act 2019. Regulations to operationalize the Environment Protection Force as provided by the Act number 5 of 2019 are being formalized. NEMA, we have done the regulation. NEMA has been restructured, and a new structure has now established Environment Protection Force with 155 personnel. Recruitments to fill this structure are ongoing. I saw this on the newspaper, the advert for some of these positions to be filled. 206 Environment Protection Police Unit personnel have been seconded to the sector to help support enforcement. The second commitment, the second manifesto commitment was to procure and install air quality monitors and establish waste management facilities in 50 cities, municipalities. Of course, now we have in the 10 cities, I think, 10 cities, the rest are municipalities. Air quality regulation and standards for Uganda have been developed. 150 air quality monitors have been installed in Kampala, Jinja, Kira municipality, Fort Fotol, the list is there. Capacity building training programs for 400 public officials by Makerere University. Ergo project is being done. 500,000 citizens engaged and educated on air quality, and 1,000 community champions trained in collaboration with Makerere with that project. Additional achievement, increased staffing of NEMA to improve service delivery from 131 to now 400, and the new structure now caters for 413. Originally, the structure catered for only 121. Surveillance, arrest and protection of environment offenders to support ecosystem restoration in Lubiji, in Bugoma, in Kole, Gulu, Chenjojo, Tungamo, Lira, among others. These have been done. Environment education and awareness programs to educate citizens. Assessment of environment impacts of development projects. Automation of business process at NEMA is ongoing to improve service delivery and support sustainable investment. NEMA is also continuously monitoring of the environmental impacts of oil, gas, and mining. Challenges, increased environmental degradation, we talked about this, Honorable Chair. Limited budget, we talked about this. So budget, as we may note, is cutting across, and this is one of the key challenges actually affecting delivery of the manifesto commitment 2021-2026. What do we recommend? Need for more resource allocation to facilitate waste management program. There is a need to establish dedicated environment division of the ICOD. I think, Honorable Chair, this has been long overdue. There's need to strengthen prosecution through recruitment of more DPPs and NEMA, and also there's need for enhancement of personnel and equipment and training. Honorable Chair, I want to thank you so much. We come to the end of our presentation. I thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for giving me this opportunity to present your report. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Ochore. Please, let's put our hands together and give a very big applause to Commissioner and to the whole ministry for the well presented, very elaborate I want to say on behalf of the manifesto, I want to thank you for being very elaborate and trying to give updates one by one as per the manifesto commitments. Once again, clap for yourselves. Before I proceed with the next issue on the program, which will be giving opportunity to our members of the public and media present here to raise a few questions, allow me, Honorable Minister, and your team also to introduce the team that I work with at the presidency and particularly at the Manifesto Implementation Unit, who are already with us here. I have the Deputy Director, Mr. Fred Kamujira, who is with us here. I have Mr. Wakoja Richard, who is Assistant Director at the unit. I have my members of the technical unit there, Senior Economist Onono, Economist David. I saw Principal Assistant Secretary Gloria, and Marvin Senkungu, our economist. Allow me also, Honorable Minister, to inform you that in this manifesto week we have partnered with the Ministry of ICT since it involves both preparation but also, most importantly, to disseminate this data to our citizens to be able to appreciate how far we have come. Can I request members of staff from ICT who are here to stand up for recognition, especially members from Media Center and at the ICT headquarters. Thank you very much. The rest is you, members of the media. We do recognize you all the time, and thank you for coming in such numbers. That tells us the interest now you are having in knowing what exactly affects the citizens as far as service delivery is concerned. I also want in a special way to introduce Mr. Tweheyo, who is a SEC member. Is he here? And the commissioner of the presidency. I saw him around, maybe he stepped out, but that's all. Honorable Minister, once again I want to thank you for coming. Today is cabinet, but as you are here, this is also part of cabinet business, because this was a cabinet minute for you to be here, so you are not out of order. Before I open the discussion, allow me now from the monitoring and the tracking perspective also share with you a few observations. First and foremost, we as a unit, we are privileged. We travel this whole country and also interface with the local leaders, and we have noticed one, weak enforcement capabilities by NEMA. I think NEMA plays a cross-cutting role in enforcing a few of the environment issues, and I'm glad it has also been raised here, including all the challenges you are raising. But I think we still need to add more effort, Honorable Minister, to support NEMA to enforce the levels of degradation that many of the wetlands in the country are suffering. We would also like to know from you the relationship you have with the Ministry of Lands, where we still get cases where the ministry is still issuing land titles for wetlands. I thought this is outlawed, and since both of you sit in the cabinet, what is the policy position on this matter? Environment and wetland degradation is still posing a very, very big challenge in the rural communities, and especially in the local governments. Even with the passing of these new laws, which we thought would be reinforcing the capabilities of managing this problem, it is still a very, very huge challenge, and we have already started witnessing a few of nature's reaction as we talk now. Some of us who are going to the other side of the country, some areas have been cut off because of these issues, The other day we are reading and we are getting photos from River Ruizi and its catchment area, and many others. I don't know how now the situation is as you go from Bari to Soroti, that wetland there. So is it Soroti Moroto? I don't know the reaction. Anytime we could be in for a surprise for that route. We had, I think, last year experienced another scenario at the Pakwach crossing. So these are not small threats, Honorable Minister. So for us as who are monitoring this area, I think we need to enforce and make sure that we need to bring our people to order, and more so on those actions that are contributing to this problem. National Forest Authority, there is a route that is reported here, but I don't know whether this exists on the ground. These million seedlings, we don't know where they are, whether they are these new plantations. I think we still have a challenge here on the restoration of the forest cover. I think more efforts is needed. More efforts has actually been taken on more by the private sector, I think, than you. So we need to put in more effort. And actually, the reports we get regularly is that you are more involved in actually reducing the forest cover. You are more active in the participation rather than restoration. You are more active, or you are party to the forces that are working hard to reduce our forest covers. But these are allegations we can share with you, and you tell us how far you are moving in this respect. The challenges, Honorable Minister and your teams, we have seen could be more of administrative nature, because I think they need for the sector or the ministry to, instead, the ministry should be informing the country how it is moving in the direction of strengthening most of the recommendations you are giving us. If the laws are weak, then you need to propose areas to strengthen those gaps so that we can seem to be on top of our game. So those are the. Otherwise, I also need to say that this is one of the areas where we have registered tremendous progress in as far as implementation of the manifesto is concerned. So you need to take note from that who are doing the tracking. That the water area, we see tremendous progress, and the citizens, I think, are now enjoying the services. We see areas of the management of my sister here with water resources. I hope the dams are safer so that we don't suffer the same catastrophes we are suffering from the breaking of the banks. But we still have the issue of the environment, which I think needs to be strengthened. So, and we cannot afford to live anymore without it, and especially when we still see some developments taking place within these protected areas. But otherwise, the manifesto unit takes cognizance of the tremendous efforts that have been deployed in making sure that our targets of the contract will be realized. Now, I want to, with those observations, I want to open the discussion to you members of the public and media who are here, to the minister and his team. And like I had observed, Honorable Minister, there are areas where you may need to answer yourself, but you're also at liberty to invite any of your technical teams to complement the answers for purposes of clarity. So here we go now, members of the public and the media. This is your time. Many times you have been asking, the government has done nothing, Now you have seen. And we want all your emails for purposes of giving you this information so that you go and inform our citizens how far we have gone. And if you have members of other thoughts who would come to pose other questions that are different from the facts on the ground, I think this is the time now to confront them with facts so that we can be able to assure our citizens that this is a government in trust. So, yes, madam, your name and the media house, or if you are a member of the public, you can as well share with us where you come from. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for your presentation. Well, my name is Nrm Manifesto. I'm from Smart 24 TV. My question is about risk management. Of late, the floods are all over the place. They're affecting transport, they're affecting food, they're affecting everything. And we're very glad that the Manifesto Week is coming at a time like this. I would like to ask everyone who is involved, how ready is the ministry in risk management? This coming financial year, because it's soon starting. How ready are you in terms of financing all the risks you're having? Another question, still as we're going into the next financial year, the Nrm regulations came in. We're expecting to see them.
Just a minute. Did you get? I haven't understood that one completely. Okay. Can you come again on your question?
My question is about risk management. How ready are you in terms of financing the risks? For example, the floods happening now, they're affecting transport and food. People cannot get to the places they're living. I'm giving an example of the floods because everyone knows they're happening. Are you now okay with the question?
You're talking about flood management?
No, entire risk management.
The risks.
The risks.
The environmental
risk.
hazard risks.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you got the question? Yes, I was asking, how are you going to manage? How are you managing actually in terms of financing these risks? You've given us all the numbers, but you didn't give us your budget for risk management. Thank you very much.
Okay, next. Somebody there?
Thank you, sir. My issue is depending on the current climate change situation, we can see rampant floods. As we started with we look at the flooding of the Katonga, plus some other areas. I would like to pose a question onto the minister. How far they gone with the encroachers? Because me, according to my analysis, the causes of Katonga River bank breakages is due to encroaching onto its banks. How far they gone with the encroachers towards who have led almost to climate change that is causing all these problems that we're facing now?
Okay, thank you. Are we done? Okay, yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. Henry Recruit from UBC. 3 questions. One on the irrigation coverage in the country, you hinted on it. But someone out there would want to understand what is the relationship between the Ministry of Water and that of Agriculture, because there seems to be a clash of mandates on that issue. Secondly, on wetland encroachment, you hinted on impunity as being one of the reasons. You also hinted on the issue of a division of the High Court in charge of environments. Why has this taken so long to come into effect? And the last one is so brief, on the issue of rice growing at Nwera. My question is very simple. Is Nwera a wetland or not?
Thank you. Somebody at the last end there. I can see you are getting excited as we conclude.
Yes, thank you so much. My name is Vincent. It's Siriko. I work with Grade 1 in the Kabos Kubi. I have only 2 questions for you, sir. Honorable Minister. The first one. We were asked the question after the recent Katonga flooding which I want to put to you, sir. It's just a honest question, but we'd like to hear from you now that it's a manifesto week. Do you feel any impact and relevance of your ministry and the agency therein, given the way of mismanagement and complacence to introducing the agencies like them and others to doing their mandate of enforcing environmental laws and things of the kind? Lastly, from your observation as a ministry, when we had a representation here that is just concluded, the future seems to be from the rhetoric. We don't hear anything different you plan to do. Do you think this country has, what does this mean of the quality of planners we have in your environmental departments? Thank you.
Lastly here. Okay, finish with that one.
Yes, thank you so much. Chris Garrigas from Ministry of ICT and DPU. Mine goes to National Forestry Authority. As you are presenting, you gave us that you are having a seedling production of 51.45 million seedlings. As recently to the population of Uganda, we are 45. Minister, can't we do it like as we would force everyone to plant a tree? The second one goes to NEMA. NEMA, why are we always seeing the rich people decomposing the swamps? Look at Mandela and Sega. Look at Munyonyo near that swamp. Look at Tirela. Look at Ugolobi. And so many other places. Why don't we have solutions than us leaving the present?
Okay, somebody here. Are you still interested? Okay.
Thank you. My name is Uwezi Ibrahim. I write for the New Vision. Two questions for NEMA and the water. Now, we realize that the report from NEMA says that 600 tons of plastics are produced every day. 40% recycled and 60% is disposed of everywhere, maybe in water channels, up to the water bodies, which can affect us. Now, to what extent is NEMA doing this to make sure that all the wastes, most of the plastics, are well managed? Second, over the weekend I spent time reading a report produced by FAO and realized that there are microplastics in water and food. But the biggest percentage, which is 93.3, is in water. Those are microplastics. And it goes ahead so that it affects the human health, and probably all of us take water. Now, how good are you to make sure that Ugandan population take clean water? And mostly you also talked about distribution of water and the challenges you're facing. So, what kind of water are you talking about? That's my question.
Thank you. That marks the end of the questions and observations from the gallery. Honorable Minister, I want to give you the opportunity once again to make the reactions. You can prefer to stay there because the microphone is working, or if you want, you can come back here. Over to you, Honorable Minister, and your team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director. And I would like to thank all of those who have raised very pertinent questions. Some of the questions are so difficult that there was a question on the relevance of the ministry. That one really got me off guard. is the truth, ladies and gentlemen, is that when it comes to performance, the performance in my ministry, we always have challenges when it comes to environment. That one we admit that there is a problem as far as protection of the environment is concerned. Protection of the environment is extremely complex. It is not as simple as, for instance, providing water to our population. Here we are dealing with all sorts of human beings. We are dealing with human greed. We are dealing with expanding population. We are dealing with all sorts of complicated issues. As the director pointed out, we have a problem with the enforcement of our environmental laws. We have a big problem. This one is clear. We have made it very clear to everybody what our challenges are. For instance, when it comes to forestry, we have 506 central forest reserves. 506. And these forest reserves should be protected. But we have how many environmental police? 200 and what? 206 environmental police personnel who are supposed to man 506 central reserves dotted across the country. And some of these forest reserves are very big. Very, very big. They are huge. Wetlands. We have wetlands all over Uganda. And these 206 police, environmental police, are supposed to police all these wetlands in the country. We have made it very clear, we have come up with the recommendations. We should have our own police force, our own protection force, and I think we are on course now to have one, just like UWAD does. UWAD's protection is better than our protection of the forests, because for them they have their own. They are fully well trained. And of course, you know, our police people, what don't we know about our policemen? What don't we know? What don't we know the corruption? Eh? And it is true. We have had cases where some of these people who are supposed to protect our forests are the ones getting involved in depleting the forests. NFA is here. I'm only giving the surface, but you need to answer to the people of Uganda what steps you have taken to rid this country of some of these people who are supposed to protect our forests, but instead turn into hyenas. This flooding which is happening in the country, we must accept the fact that climate change has come to stay. we must accept that fact that these rains you are now seeing, this is just the beginning of the problem. As the world becomes warmer, as temperatures become, you know that what is happening is that the world is trying to reduce, to ensure that we remain at 1.5 degrees centigrade temperature, so that we don't rise beyond that, because it will be catastrophic. But what we have done, it is not only us, but the whole world. We have encroached on our wetlands, which absorb some of these greenhouse gases. We have encroached on them. We have cut down our forests. But what I want the people of Uganda to understand is that some of the things we do, when we say, please leave the wetlands alone, it is not for its own sake, but it is for the good, for your own good. Because wetlands have a very big role to play. I'm not an expert. There's a man in Nrm here who will give us the role wetlands play. In ensuring that, for instance, during drought, we still have some water. And he knows. So, the responsibility of ensuring that we protect our environment should be the responsibility of each and one of us. It is not the Ministry of Water and Environment alone. Each and every Ugandan should ensure that the environment is protected. Now, when it comes to Katonga, that one we know is as a result of climate change. But we are also, as a ministry, trying to establish whether there are other causes. Was it only rain? Could it have been a result of some degradation of some wetlands? Could it have been a blockage of some sort? My ministry has gone to investigate, and I think they will come up with the answers. Now, I'm sure that my people here were taking down their notes as the questions were being asked. So I'm going to ask, I know there were some questions on, was there anything on water for production? National water, did you have a question? You should have a question, I think. Now somebody should create a question more. Myanmar, of course, the culprit. Myanmar, you will tell us how far you have gone with your predictions. Are you not 100% accurate? Margaret Athieno, you will tell us more about climate change. Your big man is around. Where is he? Hayatu. But Hayatu was here. There's somebody who looked very healthy has gone to hospital. He's behaving like a flash flood. So the engineer Lamu. And then who else? NFA, why are you hiding? You come near somewhere. You are the chief culprit. So we shall start with let's start with NEMA. Then we go to NFA. Were there other questions? Dr. Flores here will answer the question of relevance. Are you really relevant? Why don't they just scrap this ministry? I don't mind, by the way. You can. Flores will answer. Then the plastics, that's again Nrm. Okay. Can we start with Nrm, please?
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The Director Manifesto, the PS, all protocols observed. Honorable Minister has already actually answered most of the questions that I wanted to answer by giving the broad explanation that environment management cannot be delivered successfully by government. Government can only lead the population to address the question of sustainable environment management. Because it's not a product that government will produce and then distribute. It rotates around all our ways of life as citizens. And like the minister said, we even face consequences of other citizens elsewhere. Because, for instance, the question of climate change, even if Uganda restored all its ecosystems 100%, we would still get disasters due to climate change. The only difference is that if we have intact ecosystems, our resilience or our capacity to adapt to the disasters would be a little better. So that's why we must protect all our ecosystems to improve our resilience to respond. Otherwise, we cannot prevent completely environment-related disasters given the issue of climate change. You must have been following what's happening during the March, April, May season, which is a known wet season. Floods have ravaged almost the entire region. Rwanda, for instance, lost 26 bridges, 17 roads, and 5,000 people were displaced. In the DRC, 400,000 people were displaced. Kenya, Tanzania, even Somalia desert and Ethiopia are experiencing floods. So climate change is here, like the minister said. All we must do is to ensure that we protect our ecosystems so that they help us to mitigate on how the impacts will affect us. Coming back to specific questions, maybe I should start with whether we are still relevant, because when you talk about the ministry, the agencies are also part of the ministry. Yes, so are we still relevant given the level of challenges we have? The answer to that question would be actually we have become more relevant now because of the environment challenges we are facing. We need to strengthen environment management more than before, because where we are heading, we actually need a lot of more efforts in environment management, and therefore we have become more relevant than before, and environment is globally now more relevant than before. Even at UN level, environment now sits on the high table, because for a long time development sat at the high table and the environment was forgotten. So when environment raised its hand, it was a little bit too late. You see, you can invest in infrastructure, you can promote economic advancement, but when you forget environment, environment can come back and take you backwards 50 years back. it wastes all the development investments you've put in place. So at the global level, at the national level, environment has become much more relevant now, and so is the Ministry for Water and Environment. We cannot overemphasize the need to strengthen its capacity, the need to strengthen its funding, the need to support its operations. Coming to wetlands, rich people destroying wetlands, and why don't we have solutions? It's true that in the past, there were issues of trade-offs that could have led to strategic mistakes, especially in the location of industries in wetlands, permission of rice growing in wetlands, Chibuku, Ruera, and others. But also infrastructure development, construction of roads in wetlands, as opposed to raising them up. You dam the wetland and pass the road, then you put culverts, which culverts cannot contain increasing levels of water. Just to give you a scenario of what happened in Ruera recently. In March, as UNOMA will tell you, rainfall in the Karungu area was around 280 millimeters in March. 280 millimeters means approximately 280 liters of water per square square kilometer. Now, in April, the rainfall moved from 280 to 512 millimeters. This is more than double. And the long-term mean expected of that area is just 200 millimeters of rain. So you can see that the rainfall has become too much and the roads can no longer hold. So the long-term solution is to suspend the roads, like it was done at Nambijirwa wetland on Express Highway. We are yet to see more floods, according to the predictions. The March-May wet season is likely to extend into June. And because of climate change, the seasons have become now more unpredictable. We no longer have precise seasons. So what's important is to invest more in climate proofing as well as climate mitigation. Climate mitigation in the sense that we must restore the ecosystem, remove the degradation, remove encroachment, plant more trees, but also we must invest in climate adaptation, climate proofing, have infrastructure that can withstand climate vagaries because they are here. They are here to stay. So strategic mistakes could have made due to trade-off to advance development, because we also need these industries. We also need food. So these rice schemes were allowed then for strategic reasons. It was a trade-off of environment and development. So I wouldn't say government was entirely wrong. It was a trade-off of the need to develop, because for everything there is advantage and disadvantage. But what is clear from what we see now is that we need to do more to suppress development in sensitive ecological systems. And that's why, effective 2nd September 2021, government suspended any further approval of developments in wetlands. And we've embarked on operations to remove those that are illegally encroaching on wetlands. You must have seen operations conducted in Rubiji. These operations are going to continue countrywide, funds allowing. So yes, there is encroachment and we must stop it without further delay. Plastics management, plastics again, this is a big problem that also compounds actually flooding, because irresponsible plastic disposal results in the blocking of drainage systems, and this enhances flooding, especially in urban areas, not only in urban areas, but also these rivers. These rivers we see have lots of debris and siltation, which raises the impacts of water flow. What are we doing? Government has come up with a national strategy. Government has come up with a national strategy to address plastic pollution. And actually the theme for this year's World Environmental Day on 5th June, which we shall celebrate at Coral Ceremonial Grounds, will be beating plastic pollution. Because plastics have become a problem, plastics are causing flooding, but the issue of microplastics, which the journalist talked about, is even much more worrying. Science indicates that there are now traces of plastics in human blood, which is unprecedented. Meaning if we do not address this, we are likely to see more cancers, we are likely to see more spending on human health management. We still see people eating Rolex, hot Rolex, in plastics. We still see that. We still see matoke being cooked with plastic cover. All these can lead to microplastics in human blood. So we must address this. So our aim is to ensure that we stop further import of virgin plastics. We stop further import of virgin plastics so that then we can deal with the legacy plastics, the plastics that we already have in our economy. How do we deal with the legacy plastics? We are introducing extended producer responsibility scheme, because the law provides that the producer of the plastics must buy back the plastics from the economy and recycle it. This is in the law. So we are starting extended producer responsibility, starting with beverages, sodas, water, juices, the beverage cup, the PET plastics, what we call PET plastics, or the beverage bottles. There is no reason why producers of these plastics cannot buy them back. So we are going to have a scheme. We are working with Uganda Manufacturers Association, who the plastic producers have agreed to be the middleman who will be buying back all the plastics on their behalf. And then this will create jobs, it will clean up our environment, and it will produce raw materials for further production through recycling. There is now technology announced in Germany that you can actually recycle a plastic water bottle back to a plastic water bottle. Currently in Africa we don't have this technology, but there are indications that it will soon come here. That will mean that we can actually stop further importation of granules for fresh plastics manufacturing, and we deal with the legacy plastics. Lastly, Chair, there was a question of whether Ruwera is a wetland or not. Certainly, Ruwera is a wetland. Ruwera is a wetland, and so is Katonga wetland. There has been a lot of debate whether rice and sand mining in Ruwera did not cause the overflow of Katonga River and therefore the wash away of Katonga Bridge. There is a lot of debate in the media. Katonga River provides water to both Ruwera and the Katonga Bridge itself. The main Katonga River continues through the bridge, and a tributary goes to Ruwera ecosystem. Okay? They both receive from the same source. Now, what caused the wash away of Katonga Bridge was water from upstream that came at a higher speed with debris that resulted in the wash away of the bridge. Like the minister said, the investigations are going on what could have caused the water buildup upstream that came and destroyed the bridge. What we know, and is for sure, is that rainfall has more than doubled. So the water from precipitation increased. That one is not in dispute because we have the rainfall figures. I told you 280 millimeters to 512 millimeters for Kamenyamigo, which is the UNOMA station in the area. So on the issue of the source of water, we know it is increased rainfall. That one we know. On what could have caused the immediate build-up of the water upstream to destroy Katonga Bridge is what is being investigated. However, we've seen water also now reaching Ruera. So Ruera is also increasingly getting flooded. So the question then is, can we say sand mining and rice growing in Ruera cause the water build-up to wash away Katonga Bridge? Scientifically, no. Scientifically, no, because Katonga flows to Lake Victoria and water did not backflow to go backwards to cause a build-up down upstream. That does not mean that sand mining and rice growing in Ruera has no impact on the environment. It does have. Just like any other development, it does have, because wetlands are like sponges, they are like mattresses. They hold the water so that the water speed is slowed down, and then they release the water when we need water. So any misuse of wetlands, including building of factories, construction of roads, growing of rice, sand mining, they all affect the capacity of the wetland to hold the water. So in that sense, certainly yes. But also in a broader sense of climate change, what causes climate change is environment degradation. So in that broader sense also, yes, there is a contribution. But we should be much more worried about how the two will actually characterize flooding in Ruera, not Katonga. Because the reason why we have sand mining in Ruera is because the lake over time deposited sand in the Ruera system. And depositing of this sand raised the Ruera area slightly above the Katonga area. That's why Katonga area receives more water than Ruera. So if we play around with the sand deposits there and we remove that sand, there is a likelihood for Katonga water to actually flow more to Ruera, thereby causing more flooding of Ruera. So the bottom line is we must manage the sand mining and we must manage the rice growing, and that's why government suspended further licensing of sand mining, and when the licenses expire, the people are supposed to go. We are remaining with only 2 companies that have valid licenses. All the others have expired and we have not renewed, so they have exited. But we have a problem of illegal sand mining, including illegal dredging of sand on the lake. Illegal, not licensed. So we must work with the Marines, the Marine Police Unit, and the military Marines to ensure that we stop any illegal dredging of the lake and also illegal sand mining. I thank you.
LFA.
Thank you, Chair, and the Honourable Minister, members present. There are quite about 3 issues that NF is going to respond about. We talked about forest cover. Is it there? Yes, it is there, but it's really reducing. because as we talk now, it's about 13% of the forest cover, not only in forests, every other land in Uganda, including NFA, the land managed under Uganda Wildlife Authority, and private lands. All these are part of the forest cover of Uganda, and NFA is the one in charge of making and generating statistics about the forest cover. Yes, it is reducing because most of the natural forests on private lands, most of them have been depleted. And why? Because of the demand for charcoal. Most schools, barracks, individuals use charcoal. So they provide a lot of demand for charcoal, and people do a lot of illegal activities to get that charcoal to provide for the urban centers across the country. So if you want to reduce deforestation greatly, you stop the business of charcoal, and that will contribute a lot. That is one of the questions. Then also partly talked about seedlings. Are they there? Yes, we generate those seedlings, and even some years more, depending on the money that's provided. We have one for sale, which are still there. Even if you went to Namanve, you went to Barara, and other nurseries. We have about 34 nurseries across the country, in most of the cities, in Mbale, Jinja, Arua. Those seedlings are there for sale. Exotics, eucalyptus, pine, but also for indigenous species, which most people don't usually buy, but are there. Then also we give free seedlings, of course provided by government. We generate, raise them, especially the indigenous species, and distribute to the communities, individuals, MPs, and others who require them. So we are playing a role, but also you have to note that within the sector we have other players, like Uganda Wildlife Authority. They manage a big section, actually manage almost the same percentage of area in terms of forest cover. They also play their part within the national parks. Then the district government or private sector who have their own lands, they also play part. So it's not only NFA that is managing the forest cover across the country. We manage about maybe 20%. The rest is managed by other agencies and individuals. Concerning, another question was about whether NFA is involved in illegal activities. Yes, to the limited extent. And those staff, whenever they are found, are investigated and are disciplined and punished according to the laws of Uganda and also our human resource manual. But these are just very few people. NFA, we have about 353 staff distributed across the country. Drivers, about 80 drivers. So most staff on the ground are just quite few. Those ones, we handle them decisively. And as I talk now, there's a staff who is being investigated for involvement in illegal activities. Police is taking its time to investigate and will be disciplined accordingly. But the biggest problem of destruction of the forest is by individuals and also other people who migrants. Take, for example, the refugees in Uganda. We have quite a number of refugees who are settled near forests, like Bugoma. These people immediately come, they need firewood, they need poles. And you can't control hundreds of thousands of people around such a place. I know, of course, the minister at the Prime Minister's office is doing something about it, but the demand for food products by those individuals is just very high, even in West Nile. And more are coming. As NFA, we need to do more as a country to prevent such a thing. Other countries, for example, they don't put a refugee camp near a forest. Otherwise, there is no way you can be able to manage a refugee with hundreds of people near a forest. Quite a big challenge. That's also another issue. Then we have illegal land titling and kind of mafia kind of actions by different individuals across the country. Take the case of Bugoma. Up to now, we are battling in court, where a very big chunk of more than 5,000 hectares were taken off. Up to now, we are still in court. And the title was given by Lands Ministry. So those are issues that affect the forestry cover and forest in particular. Now, concerning, you said you have some reports. Yes, if you provide a report on an individual, it will be investigated, given a fair hearing, and disciplined accordingly. And the chair requests that you pass over that report so you can follow it up. As an NFA, we have even a land toll-free line. You are free to call and inform us of illegal activities. It is 0800-264-036. 0800-264-038. You can call and report any illegal activities. That's a way also to involve the private sector and the general public in fighting illegal activities. About the relevance, yes, I can also talk about the relevance. The Ministry of Water and Environment and its agencies is really very relevant because we play quite a very big role. You look at the forestry value chain from seed collection, raising of seedlings, planting of these seedlings in the gardens and so on, tending them. We employ over 200,000 people across the country, not to mention people who are dealing in charcoal, if you look around the roads and so on. So it's really very relevant in terms of employment, in terms of providing forest products on the market, in terms of boards, poles, and so on and so forth. If people are not involved in commercial plantations, then we'll have a very big problem across the country. Now, when you look at plantations, the private sector licensed in Central Forest Reserves to plant trees on government land at a fee and under terms and conditions, and are doing a very good, playing a very big role, because they have planted over 200,000 hectares. Yeah, in Mbende, in Mafuga, Lendu, and other forests. And these people, even now as we talk, there's value addition, like Nile ply, they make poles, they make boards, they make vani, and so on and so forth. So there's quite a role that the forest sector is playing. We have, of course, the problem of urbanization. Look at the forests like Mavira, surrounded by towns. You have Jinja City, Kampala City, Mukono, and so on and so forth. The pressure and the demand on those forests is quite big. I request you, through you, Chairman, for example, government should institute a law whereby all schools should not use charcoal or firewood. They should be using boilers. For us, when we started, we were using boilers in secondary schools in the 70s. So that one will help to reduce on the demand on some of these forests. I think for now, that's what I can say. But of course, I also wish to appreciate that we have other projects like United Nations High Commission for Refugees, which is supporting NFA to plant and restore forests near the refugee camps. We'll get quite some good money from there. Then of course, we also have World Bank project, which is the nation, which is supporting the restoration of forests, opening of boundaries, and assisting communities to get involved in livelihoods like rearing bees and so on and so forth. This one we hope will help to support them, and maybe they reduce the pressure on forests. Thank you, Chairman.
Engineer Kimanzi, talk about the relationship between you and agriculture.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, and the one who presented the question on our relationship between us as Minister of Water and the Minister of Agriculture. Let me first say that water for production is larger than irrigation. Water for production has 4 components. It has water, we provide water for livestock, watering. We provide water for irrigation, water for crops. We also provide water for rural industries and water for aquaculture. If you want to do some ponds for fish farming, we come and support you, provide that water. Now, maybe what the presenter of the question was alluding to was in history there was a lot of misunderstanding with respect to water for irrigation. Who does water for irrigation? Whose mandate is it to provide water for irrigation? A lot of discussions were held, and this matter ended up in cabinet. And in 2018, my minister here, working with his colleague in the Ministry of Agriculture and both teams from both ministries, we discussed and presented to cabinet, and it approved water for irrigation policy in 2018 to clarify these mandates and who is responsible for what. In that policy, Ministry of Water and Environment is responsible for off-farm, what we call off-farm infrastructure, which means you develop a source, you can tap water from a river, you can create a dam, and then the conveyance canals, the mains, until you bring water to somebody's farm gate. That is the responsibility of Ministry of Water. The Ministry of Agriculture works with the farmer. If there is some distribution to be made on the plot, how much water to apply, to which crop, what fertilizer to apply, the frequency of applying this water. That is what we call on-farm operations. So Ministry of Agriculture is responsible for on-farm operations with respect to irrigation. I'm an engineer, but I'm not an agronomist. So I need to work, even if I construct an irrigation scheme and I bring water to your farm, I stop there, my expertise stops there. I need to work with somebody from Ministry of Agriculture so that he takes this water and then works with the farmer. You, the farmer, tells you how much water to apply, when, which crop to plant, where do you get the crop, for instance. Even if you applied this amount of water and the seed is of poor quality, you will not realize increased production and productivity. So we have shared mandates with respect to water for irrigation. And since 2018, we have subsequently designed projects and programs to take this into consideration. For instance, we have what we call irrigation as a project which we designed with support from the World Bank, called Irrigation for Climate Resilience Project. We have a component for irrigation infrastructure led by my Ministry of Water and Environment. And then we have another component too, which deals with on-farm operations, inputs for the farmers, how much water to apply, extension, choosing the enterprise, and then connecting all this harvest and post-harvest management, and then availing the product to the market. This is led by Ministry of Agriculture, and so the staff from my ministry and the staff from Ministry of Agriculture work jointly, day to day, to implement this program. Another example I can give you is a farm income and forestry conservation project. Again, right from inception, we have staff from Ministry of Water and staff from Ministry of Agriculture playing different roles in the design and implementation of these schemes. And because we have implemented phase 1 and phase 2 of this project, we have recently, you may have seen it in the press recently, Islamic Development Bank gave us financing to construct 3 other schemes under this project. The minister launched it in Bali about 2 weeks ago. So we recognize that water for irrigation is a shared mandate, and all subsequent programs that we are implementing follow this path. If there are any coordination issues, the irrigation policy also recognizes that if there are any issues that arise out of implementation, we are coordinated by the Interministerial Technical Committee and chaired by Office of the Prime Minister. That is also provided for in the policy. So when you hear that there is a clash, it's because you are probably not interacting with us day to day, that you get to understand what is in the policy and what is in the programs that we are implementing. Mr. Minister, I beg to stop there. Thank you very much. I can also avail the members of the press, if they come to my office, I can give you copies of our irrigation policy so that you quote it. Next time you publish at court.
Is there somebody who wants to answer a question? Or probably I may not have. Yes? Unuma, is there something you want to say? Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for this opportunity. Actually, I was waiting for questions, but the questions didn't come. But I feel it's important. It's important for me to give a bit of clarification of what is happening in the area of meteorological services. Honorable Minister mentioned that I asked that are you now accurate Are you 100% accurate? I'm here just to inform members that we provide information at different time scales. And this information have varying levels of accuracy. Now, in climate science, the longer the forecast, the higher the margin of error. So for seasonal forecasts, we are now running at 80 and above percent level of accuracy, because every seasonal forecast is evaluated, and all along we have been beyond 80%. Then for short-term forecasts, we range above 90%. This is largely in line with the provisions in the National Development Plan version 3, which is running. The target was to increase from 80% to 90%. Maybe to mention something on the current seasonal rains, March, April, May, as mentioned by a good friend from NEMA. This is a rainy season. We have what we call long-term means. Now, this means what is expected in a given location. As I mentioned, we did the forecast in February for the entire season, and previously we used to have only one National Climate Outlook Forum, where we bring all the stakeholders, MDAs together, we provide the forecast, and the stakeholders are separated in their different sectors to generate the implication of the forecasts to their various sectors. And this is what we call co-production. But this time we decided to lobby for some support, because of what we saw coming to the western part of Uganda, and even the central. So our team camped in Mbarara for a whole week and disseminated the forecast over that region. We also did in Masaka because of what we foresaw, and actually it came to pass that that region got far above what is expected, more than normal. We also did the same in Moroto and Gulu. But we are restricted. We didn't go to the east because those who are supporting us had those project areas located in the north and then central and western parts of Uganda. Regarding the current rains, we expect a bit of relaxation as we get to the end of the season, which is ending this month, before picking up in June, July, August season. And as you may be aware, June, July, August season favors more regions as you move away from from equator, as you move away from equator, northern and eastern parts of the country benefit. This is largely because the convergence zone, for those who are aware about this intertropical convergence zone, usually around this period lies in the northern part, and the north-south component of this convergence zone lies between Kenya and Uganda. That's why eastern and northern parts of the country usually benefit more from this season. Now, as our good friend Commissioner Dennis Ochare was presenting, he mentioned something about salary enhancements. I thought they were scientists. Now, he's right, he put it rightly. We all expected this to happen automatically because these are serious scientists who don't sleep. They work day and night. But unfortunately, it didn't occur in all the MDAs. Some of our scientists have not yet got this. So this one we followed up. Honorable Minister followed this on the presidential pledge of 26.3 billion to UNMA, and we are still waiting. It's yet to come, but all this would handle all the issues around climate science and ensuring that the components of monitoring the weather, forecasting, and disseminating this information to the last mile will be enhanced. I beg to leave it here. Thank you so much, everyone.
And Dr. Flores, the PS.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, the Director for the Manifesto Implementation Unit, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I think the Nrm elaborated on the relevance, but I would like to add more to convince you about the importance of water, Ministry of Water and Environment. I'm also thinking that the person who made this question, I think, was very emotional. Otherwise, the Ministry of Water and Environment handles resources that support life. So if you say that is there, is it relevant? Then I think it is a very big challenge. Your brain alone is 75% water. So I think it's very important. And more so at a time when the population is increasing, there is climate change, and the impact of climate change is seen through its impact on the hydrological cycle, the water cycle. So it is extremely important because the amount of water in Uganda is reducing. And as a director for water resources, my work is to ensure that everybody gets allocation of water because it is life. But this water is linked to the environment, which creates or supports its natural cycle. And that is why, as scientists, we are here to ensure that we manage what is there, innovatively look for other mechanisms to add more, but also manage all the risks. In all the presentations, the biggest challenge was dealing with the staffing and funding. So I think we are more than relevant, and we shall continue to be very relevant. Secondly, Uganda's water resources is transboundary. It is part of the Nile. Now, if we in Uganda say we are not relevant, I don't know how much we shall get. So I think there are some big challenges that need to be addressed to make us more relevant, and management of water resources, water and environment involves everybody because it is part of us. Human beings are part of the ecosystem. So when we talk about ecosystem, make sure that you know that you are part of it. And you are the one causing the destruction of the ecosystem. And the natural environment is responding drastically. So I think we need to work together, create awareness. Most important right now is to have real-time information so that we are able to carry on early warning. So this ministry is extremely important, and we hope that through this presentation, which the director had already thanked us for good performance, that's why I was saying that comment was emotional, but we have done a lot as has been presented. So the challenges that we have require us to strengthen our technical capacity, but also have more funds so that we are able to deliver. Now, on the issue of Katonga, I thought I should say this. The Nrm has said it very well. As a ministry, we have a Katonga catchment management plan. And Katonga catchment goes through so many districts. And we know that upstream, on the upper side of Katonga, is highly degraded. Now, preliminary assessment indicate that there was a blockage on one of the culverts that created buildup of water after a very heavy rain, as you have seen. And because of degradation, the holding capacity of the catchment and wetlands was overpowered. And therefore, the water came with a lot of force, and the road was not constructed to hold that kind of force. So that is what has happened. Otherwise, our team, as we have been said, are in the field, but it takes us back to renew our commitment to restore the environment as quickly as possible. Otherwise, we are going to see many of these happening. On the Maif and water, I want to add this. I know Engineer Kimanzi has talked about it, but as the Director for Water Resources and as the Minister of Water and Environment, my role is to allocate water for all uses. And we note that the water in Uganda is not evenly distributed. And therefore, as a ministry, our role is to ensure that we create infrastructure that delivers water at the point of use. And as the director, the law allows me, my work is to tell them, release this amount per second for this period. And I give them permission to do that. So any water use of bulk nature must get permit from the Director of Water Resources. So the argument of agriculture, I think, should be put to rest. He's a water user, according to me. He's one of my water users. And Engineer Kimanzi, I have the right to go on farm to inspect how efficiently they're using the water and where are they taking the drained after use as a director, and how are they discharging the waste. So the mandate of Ministry of Water is everywhere where water is used and where water is. I thought I should make this very clear so that you don't compare a directorate or a department in the Ministry of Water with the Ministry of Agriculture's mandate. Agriculture, to me, is a water user, and they should get permit for abstraction of water, for efficient use, and for wastewater discharge. And that is what we follow them for. Hydropower, industries, mining, oil and gas, all water users get permit from the Director of Water Resources. So this is the Ministry of Water. It is not about water supply for drinking. It is for all waters. We protect your interests on transboundary to make sure that Uganda has enough water, even if there are 10 countries. So isn't this enough to show you that this ministry is very important? So, with the coming up of climate change, I've told you the amount of water is reducing. As long as we don't protect our environment, water is reducing, and there's going to be tension on sharing of water. Now, if this ministry is not here, what is going to happen? Most civil wars, most wars are on water. So please, let's join hands and work on our beautiful country to maintain and protect the water and the environment so that we can live longer together. Thank you very much.
Honorable Minister, you want to wrap up? Yes, you can wrap up then.
No.
Okay. Kari, can we put our hands together for the
for the conclusion of that session. We want to thank you once again, Honorable Minister, and your team for the clarifications. Our members from the media, I think now you know where we stand as far as the contract we made with the people of Uganda on this area, with the facts, no speculation. Like I said, the Secretariat will be able to provide the data for you to go and disseminate this information to our citizens as facts. Don't go and speculate. And as far as the issue of the relevance of the Minister of Water, you have my vote. There's no more question about it. So we want to end this session here. Honorable Minister and your team will request you for a photo session as we leave here. Members of our media, I know many of you could have come earlier than expected. There is a cup of tea. Please enjoy it. And then we shall meet again here at 2 when we are beginning on the next session, the presentation by the next ministry. I thank you, and I declare this session now officially closed.
Stand?
We are going outside here.
Okay.
Behind here.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Wangambo, you got a rasta man. Greediness, even the man, pitanga bastard man. Wambera wo, gambo jagala. Wemva wo gambo yo yansala, even nabimala. Katina iga, nafuna njagala. Hivi vyo nabiso ni wanamala. Kusaba my phone, never call again my mala. Cause I'm done with the love, now I retire. Me love and my queen, I take it up in Jagala. Queen in a mala. She's the one alive now. And the queen in a mala. She's the one alive now. Sanga kavera Nusula wo Mikwano nengova Kululu Wanchaya mama Maziga ninkulu kutsanga ngaba Katina iga Nafuna njagala Hivi vyo nabiso ni wanamala Kusaba my phone, never call again my mala. Cause I'm done with the love, now I retire. Me love and my queen, I take it up in Jagala. Queen in a mala. She's the one alive now. And the queen in a mala. She's the one alive now.
Wana wanja nyo Nekuimira kanaka yimba Ngakalungi nyo Wana wanja nyo Wana wanja nyo Tule wakati Simba wakati Anyanda vide kunaka chidala. You go on, you never leave, never more dwell. Toka, ampati, wrong number. This is a wrong number.
Naye con pesa, oweta, mfuga makono pesa, oweta no. Baby, bondeka, I feel so lonely, baby. No,
Nakete kumacha wana wanja. Wana wanja nyo. Nenkuimbira kana kayimba. Ngakalungi nyo. Wana wanja. Wana wanja nyo. Wana wanja nyo.
wabanga fever, pepekeza omukwano, baby, mrazimilandyo. Jukila abopima, omukwano go promise land, echapa nkosentyo.
Nakazi, oli wagwangachi. Ngobalera, nsobera nze ninga njoki. Nikuma vivi nze ninga nzisi.
Naye con pesa, oweta, mfuga makono pesa, oweta no. Baby, bondeka, I feel so lonely, baby. No,
Nakete kumacha wana wanja. Wana wanja nyo. Nenkuimbira kana kayimba. Ngakalungi nyo. Wana wanja nyo.
Chego body, come body, I'm a PC. Oh, go on.
Yeah, it's done.
Tantata, mbe mapeta ya neibe ya mata. Tantata, mbo mutima gumusaba mbaga.
Ashabata,
Ashanana,
ashabata,
shabade. Ashanana, onirida.
ashabata.
Shabade, shabada.